I'm Marc LeCuyer, Vice President and General Manager of ServiceNow Canada.
Let's start with a very important question. Why did ServiceNow commission a survey on Canadian preferences for accessing government services, and what were some of the key findings of this survey?
If you can imagine, the pandemic has certainly accelerated digital transformation across all organizations in Canada. And prior to the pandemic, Canadians have always held high standards for digital services as they use them every day in their personal lives. They order online, they bank online, they book things online. Digital is not a new thing in our personal lives. I would say also that, the expectation of Canadians as far as government being able to deliver digital services was very low. The confidence was low in the ability for government to put services online. And the pandemic has changed everything, right? So the exciting part for us is the opportunity is huge for government. When we made the shift where everybody's working remotely, no longer could you go to a government agency or a department physically to get things done. We had to access them online, and the government was forced to accelerate that change. And this is in line with the expectations of our Canadian citizens. So for us, what were some of the key findings? Well, there's a few things. If given the choice, 2/3 of Canadians prefer to access services digitally. This is prior to the pandemic. So it's in line with where the government needs to go and in line with the expectation of Canadians. Number two, experiences matter. A great citizen experience has a positive impact on opinions. And opinions matter during election time. So the government has a great opportunity to step up and demonstrate to the citizens that they can deliver the same level of consumer great experience they do in their personal lives. And then building trust between citizens and our public institutions has never been more important, than now as we navigate the pandemic and plan for a successful recovery. I'll bring this together in sort of the consumer experience side versus the citizen experience side. But, just as a smooth customer experience can do wonders for a brand, a positive experience accessing government services has the power to build greater confidence between citizens and government. So, this is really, as a company that makes the world work better for people, we thought it was very important to understand, what citizens are going through and how this pandemic has changed the design and the way that government's going to engage with Canadians.
This is obviously a very timely conversation in a year where we expect an election, and that point about bringing Canadians closer to their government or vice versa is actually quite profound, and it's maybe not something that our audience or others in Canada would even think about when they think about IT. I don't even know that we still use that term, or tech or technology in general. Now, it's clear that the pandemic, much like in other areas, is the mega trend that is accelerating digitization, just like it has an impact in other areas. What is the government supposed to do right now? As you said, they are forced to accelerate, to adopt, to digitize. Where do we go from here?
I think, first of all, our data guides us to the idea that Canadians have new expectations around the future of the public sector, right? The pandemic has made them more open to accessing government services digitally. And this is true for all generations. This isn't just our younger generations. This is all generations that are living today. Overall, at least 2/3, as I mentioned, of Canadians would prefer to access services digitally. So the idea here is that, we need to continue to evolve, right? The digital maturity and the transformation as far as bringing government services online. If we do that, confidence becomes higher, amongst our citizens. Our stats show the majority of citizens prefer live chats and mobile-friendly options with consumer-grade experiences. This is the important part, consumer-grade experiences. Again, we see them in our personal lives. The expectation is higher that government can deliver now that they've seen a snapshot of that during this pandemic. And then with the demand for digital experience increasing across all generations, government has the opportunity to streamline their services to really take advantage of this digital age.
Could you help us identify what are the current barriers to Canadians' ability to access government services today, and what are the solutions for each, briefly?
I'd say for many Canadians, just still accessing services is challenging, right? I mean, we've got different age groups, we have different demographics, we've got connectivity issues, right? There's a whole bunch of things that play into the challenges that Canadians face. But in general, right, nearly half rely on someone else to help them access these services. This is often because the processes are complicated or they don't know where to go. So if you think about this, right, some of the challenges have been just trying to contact the right people, right, or getting the right piece of information. They couldn't get through on the phone lines because they were busy. They couldn't find the right contact information they needed. They got bounced around different departments, or they had to follow up multiple government departments to get the single answer they needed. So there's a lot of opportunity, to simplify things and for government to really understand what it is the citizens are looking for, and how do we work back to make it simple for them to find that information and, more importantly, solve their problem quickly.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. Perhaps this is an oversimplistic question, but what steps have to be taken now and by who to enable this digitization of government? Surely at one point, someone needs to make a decision. Some branch of the government needs to, take the lead and start updating platforms and services to better serve Canadians.
I think that it's simplifying the services that they provide. Again, I spoke about this concept of local government, a municipal level. We've got a provincial level. We've got a federal level. And then we've got all these different provinces and territories across the country. And each one are designing and developing their own strategy at each level. So I think that, somewhere out here, I don't even know if this is possible, but I think the pandemic has opened up an opportunity for us to think differently about some kind of master architecture around the simplification of services they provide. So, how does a municipality, municipal, local government work better with a province, right? Around a single strategy out there where something is overarching and then some services are set at a local level. And then the same applies to the federal government. So this is a huge body of work. We've got great partners in the private sector that can help government around some visioning here. And I think that I've always said about Canada, we're small enough as a country in our population, right? Which should in turn make us more agile than other countries around the world. And we should ensure that we're learning from the largest and the most innovative and sidestepping the hurdles that they've gone through, to set up something that makes sense for this new digital economy.
Marc, at the beginning of the conversation, you talked about this opportunity to bring government and citizens closer together. And of course, this is something that the private sector is in a relentless pursuit of doing from a branding, from a brand equity, loyalty point of view, of course. And I see you nodding. Of course, ServiceNow is a private company. So what are some of the learnings you would say that the governments can take from the private sector as it tries to achieve that?
I think, the one thing we can't forget is that governments have unique challenges and silo processes, right? They were built on a foundation that is generations old, right? So unwinding that takes time. So they've often struggled to keep pace with the private sector when it comes to digital innovation. It's not enough to simply take a legacy system and bring it online. Phase one of digital transformation was to literally take something you're doing today in a legacy format and just literally take it online. These cloud migrations were cumbersome, and the result at the end of the day was not the experience that everyone had hoped for. So it's about reimagining, how we do business. It's around user-centric design. It's around iterative learning and taking an approach where we almost work backwards. Governments work on, this is our operation, and there's people that need access information, right, that sits inside of our operation. We need to flip that around. We need to say, what do citizens need? How do they need to get access to it? How fast and how timely? And we need to work back and redesign that experience. If they can do that, I think, the citizens will be very excited to engage more with government, and confidence will be high.
If you had 30 seconds to pitch to someone in a position of power in Canada, the Prime Minister, industry leaders, academic leaders, whoever you want, to further the digitization of Canada's government services, who would you choose to pitch And what would you say in 30 seconds or less?
I think it always starts from the top, right? We want to pitch at the top. And, I would remind the leaders that the pandemic has caused millions of Canadians to access the services they need online, right? This goes from connecting with government agencies to address specific questions to managing COVID-19 vaccine appointments. So the demand for digital services and the citizens to access them has never been higher. So citizens want a great experience. They want to be treated like a customer, right? And if the government can do that, I think the opinion could be positive for that government is looking to stay in office or get elected to office. These are the terms, right? And digital is one of those things that every citizen could put their hands on, right? It's something they can put their experience around. They can think about it and talk about it day to day, and it becomes a table conversation during dinner. And I think if you're in that conversation, then you're creating positive impact for the country.